Hello and welcome to Verum Magazine and our inaugural docuseries Unveiling the Darkness, where we delve into the lives of the 20th and 21st century's most notorious tyrants. In episode 1, we present Pol Pot's reign of terror. Join us as we embark on our first journey to uncover the dark origins of one of history's most infamous figures. How does a child born into a comfortable life of privilege become one of the world's most notorious dictators? This is the question we face when we delve into the history of Pol Pot, a name synonymous with terror and devastation. Pol Pot, born Saloth Sar, his journey began in the serene village of Prexpauv, French Cambodia, on May 19, 1925. His life of privilege, marked by a solid education in Cambodia's elite schools and a brief stint as a novice monk, seemed to outline a promising future. Yet the seeds of his dark destiny were sown elsewhere, in a city renowned for its enlightenment and culture, Paris. Paris in the 1940s was a melting pot of ideas, a city where radical ideologies found ground. For young Saloth Sar, it was here that the transformation to Pol Pot began. The City of Lights, revered for its intellectual brilliance and cultural richness, became his crucible of radicalization. It was here that he developed an unwavering commitment to Marxist-Leninist principles and found his calling in the French Communist Party. When Pol Pot returned to Cambodia in 1953, he was a changed man, his mind filled with revolutionary thoughts. He threw himself into the communist movement that was gaining momentum in his homeland, aligning himself with the Khmer Viet Minh organization. His leadership of the Communist Party of Cambodia marked his ascension to power, as he rallied support for his vision of a socialist utopia, free from the chains of imperialism and exploitation. The establishment of the Khmer Rouge in 1960 was a significant milestone in Pol Pot's political journey. Drawing inspiration from Maoist principles, he envisioned a radical transformation Cambodian society, one that would erase the remnants of feudalism and imperialism. By the early 1970s, Cambodia was in the grip of political turmoil, with Pol Pot's forces locked in a relentless guerrilla war against the US-backed Lon Nol regime. In Paris, the City of Lights, Pol Pot found not enlightenment, but a dark path that would lead him towards a destructive ideology. And thus began the birth of a dictator, whose reign of terror would leave an indelible mark on the history of Cambodia. As we delve deeper into Pol Pot's journey, the ominous feeling resonates, leaving us with contemplative silence, knowing what comes next. This was Pol Pot's journey toward an inevitable genocide. A dark cloud looms, ushering in an unforgettable nightmare. Pol Pot returned home, not as a prodigal son, but as an agent of radical change. In 1953, having soaked up the radical ideologies of Marxism-Leninism in Paris, he found himself in the midst of Cambodia's burgeoning communist movement. His return was far from quiet. Instead, he joined forces with the Khmer Viet Minh, a group engaged in guerrilla warfare against the ruling monarchy. His fervour for revolutionary change was not lost on his comrades, and soon he found himself at the helm of the Communist Party of Cambodia. As Pol Pot's influence grew, so did his vision of a new Cambodia. This was a vision not of gradual reform, but of radical upheaval. He dreamt of a socialist utopia, free from the chains of imperialism and exploitation. It was a dream that would sweep him and his followers along a tumultuous path, reshaping the destiny of an entire nation. In 1960, another significant milestone marked Pol Pot's political trajectory: the establishment of the Khmer Rouge. Drawing inspiration from Maoist principles of peasant revolution and class struggle, Pol Pot envisaged an agrarian society where the old vestiges of feudalism and imperialism would be obliterated. By the early 1970s, his vision had ignited a firestorm of political turmoil. His Khmer Rouge forces were engaged in a ceaseless guerrilla campaign against the Lon Nol regime, which maintained continued support from the United States. The stakes were high, and the battle was brutal. But Pol Pot was unyielding in his pursuit of power. Finally, in 1975, his revolutionary ambitions came to fruition. The Khmer Rouge seized control, and Pol Pot's vision of democratic Kampuchea was born. But this was no ordinary democracy. It was a radical experiment in social engineering, aiming to create a classless society. Yet beneath this utopian facade lay a chilling reality, one that would soon unravel in the face of the world. As Pol Pot's power grew, so did his vision for a Cambodia free from what he saw as the chains of imperialism and exploitation. His rise to power had begun, but the true extent of his reign was yet to be revealed. 1975 marked the year when Pol Pot's chilling vision for Cambodia began to unfold. The Khmer Rouge, under his leadership, seized power, giving birth to a new era in the nation's history, the establishment of democratic Kampuchea. This was Pol Pot's grand experiment, an attempt to create a utopian society where everyone was equal, and the shackles of imperialism and exploitation were a thing of the past. Pol Pot's vision for Cambodia was radical. He sought to transform a nation steeped in centuries-old traditions into a classless agrarian society. To achieve this, he imposed a series of drastic measures that would forever change the fabric of Cambodian society. The cities were emptied, their inhabitants forced into rural labour camps. Currency was abolished and private property was deemed a relic of the old world. Education, religion and even family ties were suppressed in favour of a collective identity. But Pol Pot's dream of a utopian society was not shared by all. His policies were met with resistance, which he crushed with ruthless efficiency. Perceived enemies of the state, intellectuals, professionals, even those who wore glasses or could speak a foreign language, were systematically purged. The prisons filled and the killing fields began to claim their victims. Pol Pot's reign of terror was marked by a perverse inversion of values. Ignorance was celebrated, while knowledge was a death sentence. The old were revered, while the young were exploited. And in the name of equality, millions were reduced to mere cogs in a brutal machine of labour and death. The world watched in horror as reports of mass executions, forced labour and starvation began to emerge from Cambodia. But for the people living under Pol Pot's rule, these were not mere stories, they were a terrifying reality. A daily struggle for survival in a world gone mad. But beneath the guise of a utopian vision, a horrific reality awaited the people of Cambodia. What happens when ideology turns into obsession and a leader's vision becomes a nation's nightmare? This is the dark reality that unfolded under Pol Pot's rule, as his revolutionary zeal spiraled into a reign of terror. Driven by a radical vision of an agrarian utopia, Pol Pot wielded power with a chilling ruthlessness. The cities emptied as urban residents were forcibly relocated to the countryside, ripped from their homes and thrust into a harsh new reality. The dream of a rural paradise swiftly morphed into a dystopian nightmare. As these displaced city dwellers were condemned to grueling labour in the fields, their lives reduced to a grim cycle of toil and deprivation. In the name of his radical socialist experiment, Pol Pot abolished currency and private property, stripping individuals of their personal freedoms and reducing them to mere cogs in the machinery of the state. The very fabric of Cambodian society was torn asunder as traditional family structures were dismantled and children were separated from their parents, indoctrinated into the Khmer Rouge's brutal ideology. The subjugation was ongoing, and the horrors of Pol Pot's regime extended far beyond these draconian social policies. Mass executions became a chillingly commonplace occurrence as anyone deemed a threat to the state. Intellectuals, professionals, and even those who simply wore glasses were systematically exterminated. The infamous killing fields stand as a grim testament to this brutal period, a chilling reminder of the countless lives cut short in service of Pol Pot's twisted vision. Forced labour and systematic persecution were further hallmarks of Pol Pot's rule. The populace lived in a constant state of fear, as the merest hint of dissent could result in swift and brutal retribution. The Khmer Rouge's reign of terror left no corner of Cambodian society untouched, as Pol Pot's regime sought to enforce absolute control over every aspect of life. Yet amid the horror and the suffering, there were those who resisted, who clung to their humanity in the face of unspeakable evil. They are the unsung heroes of this dark chapter in Cambodian history. Their stories a testament to the resilience of the human spirit under the most trying of circumstances. The grim reality of life under Pol Pot's rule is a stark warning of the dangers of unchecked power and ideological extremism. It is a brutal reminder that the pursuit of utopian ideals can, in the wrong hands, lead to the depths of human depravity. In the pursuit of his utopian dream, Pol Pot had turned Cambodia into a living nightmare. The scars of his brutal regime still linger, a haunting reminder of a time when a nation's dream became its darkest reality. Yet, it is also a reminder of the resilience of the Cambodian people, who, despite the horrors they endured, have striven to rebuild their lives and their nation from the ashes of their past. Ending the Reign of Terror. The turning point came in December 1978 when Vietnam, responding to Khmer Rouge border attacks and the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Cambodia, launched an invasion. By January 1979, Vietnamese forces had captured Phnom Penh, effectively ending Pol Pot's reign. This intervention dismantled the Khmer Rouge's grip on power and established the People's Republic of Kampuchea, a pro-Vietnamese government. The international response to the crisis was multifaceted. The United Nations played a pivotal role, not only in providing immediate humanitarian aid to Cambodian refugees, but also in spearheading diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict. The UN's involvement culminated in the Paris Peace Accords of 1991, which aimed to bring stability to Cambodia through a ceasefire and democratic elections. This framework led to the creation of the United Nations Transitional Authority in Cambodia, UNTAC, which oversaw the peace process and the transition to a stable government. The United States, initially entangled in Cold War geopolitics, had a controversial relationship with the Khmer Rouge. During the Vietnamese occupation, the US indirectly supported the Khmer Rouge as part of a broader strategy to counter Soviet and Vietnamese influence in Southeast Asia. However, in the years following the invasion, US policy shifted towards supporting peace efforts and providing substantial humanitarian aid. The US also backed the establishment of the Extraordinary Chambers in the courts of Cambodia, ECC, known as the Khmer Rouge Tribunal, to bring justice for the atrocities committed during Pol Pot's regime. China, a key ally of the Khmer Rouge during their rule, continued to support them after their ouster by Vietnam. However, as international pressure and the Quest peace grew, China joined the diplomatic efforts to stabilize Cambodia in the 1990s. The Soviet Union, aligned with Vietnam, supported the new pro-Vietnamese government in Cambodia. This support was part of the broader Soviet strategy to counter Chinese influence in the region. ASEAN, particularly Thailand, played a crucial role in the diplomatic landscape, pushing for negotiations that eventually led to the Paris Peace Accords. ASEAN countries also provided refuge and humanitarian assistance to the flood of Cambodian refugees escaping the terror of the Khmer Rouge. Countries like Australia, France and Japan were instrumental in the peace negotiations and supported UNTAC's mission in Cambodia, ensuring the implementation of the peace accords and aiding in the country's reconstruction. Numerous international organizations and NGOs also contributed significantly to the humanitarian relief and rebuilding efforts in Cambodia. Organizations such as the International Red Cross, UNICEF, and various human rights groups provided essential support to the Cambodian people during and after the Khmer Rouge's reign. The collective efforts of these nations and organizations helped Cambodia move from a period of horrific genocide to one of recovery and rebuilding. Fall of the Khmer Rouge, facilitated by Vietnam's decisive action and the subsequent international humanitarian and diplomatic interventions, marked the end of a dark era and the beginning of a long journey towards healing and justice for the Cambodian people. Every reign of terror has an end, but the scars it leaves can last a lifetime. Such is the legacy of Pol Pot, whose brutal rule came to an abrupt halt in 1979. The invading Vietnamese forces, responding to repeated Khmer Rouge incursions across their shared border, swiftly overran the capital Phnom Penh, marking the end of Pol Pot's reign. Yet, even in defeat, Pol Pot managed to elude justice for his atrocities. Retreating to the remote jungles along the Thai-Cambodian border, he and a remnant of his followers continued to wage a low-level insurgency against the Vietnamese-backed People's Republic of Kampuchea. Despite being ousted from power, Pol Pot maintained his leadership of the Khmer Rouge until 1985, when he officially resigned, though he remained the de facto leader and a potent symbol of resistance to Vietnamese occupation. The final years of Pol Pot's life were spent in relative obscurity. In 1997, following a power struggle within the Khmer Rouge, he was placed under house arrest by his comrades. Less than a year later, on April 15, 1998, Pol Pot died, reportedly of heart failure. His death in a small, nondescript hut in the Cambodian jungle marked a quiet end to one of the 20th century's most notorious mass murderers. However, Pol Pot's death did not mark the end of the Khmer Rouge's impact on Cambodia. The scars of his brutal regime remain painfully visible in the social fabric. The mass killings, forced labor, and widespread starvation resulted in the deaths of an estimated 2 million people, nearly a quarter of Cambodia's population. Generations of Cambodians grew up in the shadow of this trauma, their lives indelibly marked by the horrors of the Khmer Rouge era. Efforts to hold the Khmer Rouge accountable for their crimes have been slow and fraught with challenges. The extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia, a joint Cambodian international tribunal established in 2006, has convicted only 3 former Khmer Rouge leaders of crimes against humanity. Many other perpetrators have escaped justice, their crimes unacknowledged and unpunished. Despite these challenges, Cambodia has made significant strides in confronting its painful past. The younger generation, born the fall of the Khmer Rouge, is spearheading efforts to learn from the past and build a better future. Museums, memorials and educational initiatives have been established to ensure that the atrocities committed by the Khmer Rouge are not forgotten. Yet, the legacy of the Khmer Rouge era remains a complex and deeply contentious issue in Cambodia. While some view the period as a dark chapter best forgotten, others argue that it is essential to remember and learn from the past to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. Though Pol Pot is gone, his dark shadow still looms over Cambodia, a stark reminder of a past that can never be forgotten. How do we remember a past that is too painful to bear, yet too important to forget? This question is not just rhetorical, but a pressing reality for many Cambodians as they grapple with the haunting legacy of the Khmer Rouge era. One powerful conduit of memory is through film, and few films have captured the horrors of this period as effectively as The Killing Fields. Directed by Roland Joffe, this cinematic masterpiece not only recreates the chilling atmosphere of Pol Pot's reign, but also offers an intimate portrayal of the human suffering that unfolded under his rule. The Killing Fields is more than just a historical recounting. It's a poignant narrative of resilience and survival amidst the backdrop of a society turned upside down. The film's protagonist, Dith Pran, a journalist trapped in Cambodia during the takeover of the Khmer Rouge, becomes a symbol of the ordinary people caught up in the extraordinary events of this dark chapter in history. The film's vivid depiction of the Cambodian genocide has had a profound impact on public memory of the Khmer Rouge era. It's worth noting that the lead actor, Heng S. Ngor, was himself a survivor of the genocide, lending an authenticity to the film that is both heart-wrenching and compelling. His performance, marked by raw emotion and stoic determination, resonates deeply with viewers, making The Killing Fields a testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. Yet the film also serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the depths of depravity to which humanity can sink. It forces us to confront the chilling reality that Pol Pot was not an anomaly, but a product of a complex interplay of socio-political factors. His rise to power was facilitated by a climate of fear, social unrest and ideological fervour, a potent mix that has given rise to many dictators throughout history. The memory of Pol Pot's reign, as encapsulated in The Killing Fields, continues to reverberate in the collective consciousness. It is a chilling reminder of a past that Cambodia, and indeed the world, cannot afford to forget. Remembering the atrocities committed under Pol Pot's rule is not just an act of commemoration, but a call to vigilance. It's a stark reminder that history can and does repeat itself when we become complacent. But more importantly, remembering the past is an act of honouring the victims. It is a way of acknowledging their suffering, validating their experiences, and ensuring that their voices continue to echo through the corridors of history. It's a reminder that behind the statistics and the historical narratives, there are individual stories of pain, resilience, and hope. In remembering the past, we not only honor the victims, but also remind ourselves of the depths of evil that we, as humans, are capable of. This is the true power and peril of memory, and why it remains more important than ever to keep the legacy of the Khmer Rouge era alive in our collective consciousness. As we segue out of Pol Pot's cruel reign, a new dawn breaks, symbolizing the resilience of Cambodians. In the wake of the Khmer Rouge's reign of terror, Cambodia has faced a long and arduous journey towards healing and rebuilding. The scars of the past are still visible, but so too is the resilience of its people. The bustling streets of Phnom Penh, once deserted under Pol Pot's rule, now teem with life and vibrancy. The echoes of laughter can be heard in the schoolyards, a stark contrast to the eerie silence that once prevailed. The fields, once dubbed as killing fields, now bloom with rice and other crops, a testament to resilience and determination of human beings. Yet the legacy of the Khmer Rouge era is not forgotten. It lives on in the collective memory of the Cambodian people, serving as a constant reminder of the past and a clarion call for vigilance. The younger generation, born after the fall of the Khmer Rouge, are taught about the atrocities committed during this dark chapter in history. They are the torchbearers of memory, tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that the lessons of the past are not forgotten. As we reflect on the legacy of the Khmer Rouge era, we are reminded of the power of resilience in the face of adversity. The now eradicated people who endured unimaginable horrors have shown us that it is possible to rise from the ashes and forge a new path. They are a testament to the enduring human spirit, a beacon of hope in a world that often seems consumed by darkness. As we continue to grapple with the legacy of the Khmer Rouge era and the haunting memory of Pol Pot's reign, let us remember the resilience of the Cambodian people. Their story is not just one of pain and suffering, but also of hope and survival. It is a story that deserves to be told and remembered. Pol Pot, the infamous leader of the Khmer Rouge, once chillingly declared, "To keep you is no benefit, to destroy you is no loss." This stark statement encapsulates the brutal philosophy that led to the deaths of nearly 2 million Cambodians during his regime. Survivors of the Khmer Rouge tell harrowing tales of their ordeals. Van Nath, an artist who survived the notorious S21 prison by painting portraits of Pol Pot, recalled, "I had no choice. They could kill me at any time. My only weapon was my painting." Another survivor, Chum May, painfully remembered, "I cried out in pain, but they kept beating me until I was unconscious." The international response to the Cambodian crisis was complex. Henry Kissinger, then US Secretary of State, described the situation. "Cambodia is the Nixon doctrine in its purest form." The atrocities committed by the Khmer Rouge were brought to a global audience through the film The Killing Fields. Sam Waterston, who portrayed journalist Sidney Schanberg, reflected on the film's impact. "If anybody wants to know what the Vietnam War was really about, that's the movie they should see." Haing Esengor, who played Dith Pran and was himself a survivor of the regime, said poignantly, "I wanted to show the world what had happened to my country." John Malkovich, who played photographer Al Rockoff, added, "It's a film about human endurance and the strength of the human spirit." Through these voices and stories, we remember the resilience of those who survived and honor the memory of those who did not. Khmer Rouge loyalists today. Gathered from various world news sources, loyalists to Pol Pot's regime, though vastly diminished, still exist, particularly among former Khmer Rouge members who believe in the original ideological tenets. Some view Pol Pot as a revolutionary hero who sought to eliminate social inequities and foreign influence in Cambodia. The loyalty is often rooted in their participation in the regime and a belief that the Khmer Rouge's brutal actions were necessary to protect the nation from external threats and internal enemies. However, these loyalists face widespread condemnation for their support of a regime responsible for the deaths of approximately 1.7 to 2 million people through executions, forced labor and starvation. The brutality of the Khmer Rouge era, including torture and mass killings at places like Tuol Sleng, has been well documented, making the defense of such actions deeply controversial and painful for many Cambodians and the international community. Key figures among these loyalists include Khieu Samphan, who served as the head of state for Democratic Kampuchea, and Nuon Chea, the regime's chief ideologist. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment by the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia, ECC, for crimes against humanity. These trials have been significant in bringing some measure of justice and closure to survivors and families of the victims. The continued reverence for Pol Pot among some former Khmer Rouge members is often met with strong opposition and disbelief. Many view such loyalty as a dangerous denial of historical atrocities and a potential hindrance to national reconciliation and healing. As one commentator noted, using ideology to justify such mass murder is both hypocritical and deeply disturbing, especially considering the scale of the suffering inflicted during the Khmer Rouge's rule, the History Channel. Overall, while there are remnants of loyalty to Pol Pot's ideology, the overwhelming majority of Cambodians and the global community remember the Khmer Rouge regime as a period of horrific genocide that must be acknowledged and condemned to prevent future atrocities. Euronews. In conclusion, the body of literature addressing Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge era is both vast and diverse, each piece contributing to a more complete comprehension of this devastating time in history. Ranging from thorough historical investigations to personal memoirs, these books together provide a kaleidoscopic view of the Cambodian genocide. They underscore the ideological fanaticism, the human agony, and the long-lasting consequences of one of the most ruthless regimes of the 20th century. These works are indeed a must-read for anyone attempting to grapple with the intricacies and the aftermath of the Khmer Rouge era. In closing, Verum Magazine confronts the harrowing reality of mass genocide, a testament to humanity's darkest impulses. As we examine the atrocities perpetrated by Pol Pot and his regime, we are compelled to scrutinize the concept of utopia, a notion often cloaked in idealism but fundamentally flawed when it becomes a guise for enforced uniformity. Pol Pot's genocide under the Khmer Rouge transcended mere murder, obliterating cultures, erasing histories, and annihilating identities. In the name of creating a pure society, millions perished through starvation, forced labor, and execution. This atrocity starkly illustrates the depths of cruelty humanity can reach when ideology eclipses empathy. Pol Pot's pursuit of utopia masked an insidious agenda, a misguided belief that equality equates to uniformity. Inspired by radical Marxist theories, he envisioned a classless agrarian society. In striving for this ideal, diversity was stifled, dissent suppressed, and entire communities eradicated. His rhetoric of purity and cleansing concealed a chilling reality, the imposition of a monolithic vision that tolerated no deviation, no dissent. As we conclude our exploration of Pol Pot's reign of terror, we extend our deepest gratitude for your company on this journey. We look forward to your continued presence in future episodes of Unveiling the Darkness. The episodes are just the first steps on a wide-ranging journey through the darkest corners of human history, a journey that has only just begun. Our mission remains unwavering. We aim to shed light on the lives and deeds of the world's most notorious dictators. Our goal is to unearth the narratives of those who have left indelible and often catastrophic marks on the history of the 20th and 21st centuries. Our explorations will span continents, ranging from the freezing winters of Siberia under Joseph Stalin's rule to the sweltering heat of Saddam Hussein's Iraq. Each upcoming episode is crafted to take you on an immersive journey into the lives of these tyrants, creating a rich tapestry that guides us deep into the heart of power and human cruelty. We will dissect and examine the ideologies that propelled their rise to power, from the fascism of Adolf Hitler to the totalitarianism of Kim Jong-un. We'll delve into each narrative, scrutinizing the mechanisms of their control, from propaganda to suppression through fear, unraveling the intricate networks they spun to maintain their power. At the heart of our exploration, we focus on the everyday men and women who fell under the dictator's rule. Our narrative extends beyond the dictators themselves, delving into the societies that endured their terror. We aim to understand how ordinary people survived these regimes, analyzing the myriad ways they resisted and the resilient spirit that carried them through. Our series seeks to humanize history, casting light on the ground-level impact of these regimes. It's about ordinary people living through extraordinary circumstances. From the victims of the secret police in East Germany to the oppressed citizens of North Korea, we'll delve into their personal narratives, their struggles and their victories. As we continue our exploration, we keep peeling back layers of history to reveal the true face of tyranny and expose the raw wounds inflicted by these regimes on their peoples and the world at large. This journey is not for the faint-hearted. It calls to those yearning for a deeper understanding of history, a more panoramic view of power and its consequences. We approach these narratives with a blend of empathy and insight, coupling rigorous research with captivating storytelling. Our aim is not just to inform, but to stimulate thought and unprompting retrospection on the legacy of these dictators and the lessons they have for us. In future episodes, we'll venture into the regimes of Idi Amin, Benito Mussolini and Fidel Castro, among others. We'll traverse their landscapes from the lush African savannas to the vibrant streets of Havana. We'll hear from historians, survivors, and even the dictators themselves through archival footage. Our journey is as much about the present as it is about the past. We'll draw parallels between these historical figures and their modern counterparts, delving into how their legacies continue to impact our world today. We aim to spark introspection and a deeper understanding of the world we inhabit. This journey, while rooted in history, also speaks to the human condition and the capacity for darkness that resides within us all. But it's also a journey towards light, towards understanding and empathy. We believe that by exploring the depths of human cruelty, we can also highlight the strength of the human spirit, the resilience that enables us to survive, resist, and ultimately rise above the harshest of regimes. Each episode of Unveiling the Darkness represents a commitment to truth, to unearthing the reality of these dictators' reigns. It is an invitation to you, our audience, to journey with us as we continue to probe the lives and regimes of these notorious figures, to lay bare the true face of tyranny, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. We invite you to join us as we continue to delve into the lives and regimes of these infamous figures, peeling back the layers of history to reveal the true face of tyranny. Stay tuned as we continue to unveil the darkness, shedding light on the lives of the world's most notorious dictators. As we wrap up this episode, we would like to make a crucial statement. All images used in this video are specifically utilized to inform and are in compliance with the Fair Use Act of 1971. We respect and abide by the laws of intellectual property and make every effort to use content that enhances the informational quality of our videos. We want to assure you that no infringement is intended. Our primary goal is to educate and stimulate thought, not to infringe on the rights of others. This documentary is brought to you by Verum Magazine and written by Kayleen Peoples, the editor-in-chief. We look forward to sharing our next episode of Unveiling the Darkness and looking forward to seeing you again.